Hello and welcome back to the channel. In this video we're gonna be looking at Star Wars The Black Series The Mandalorian Glavis Ringworld from Star Wars The Book of Boba Fett. Now this is a figure that initially I was crazy enough that I wanted to skip, and that is because I do have the new upcoming Mafex Mandalorian on pre-order, but I heard a lot of good things about this figure, so today we're gonna take a look at this guy. We will also compare him with a bunch of other Black Series figures and some Mafex and some SH Figure Arts as well. But before that, here's a quick look at the box. We see our new Mando here with all of the stuff that he comes with. This is the version from that one episode of the Book of Boba Fett series in which there is no Boba Fett at all, but it's practically the Mandalorian episode but in another series, so that was kind of strange. Here is a nice illustration on the side of the box of our Mando holding the Darksaber. Here is the back of the box with the same illustration, a short bio, and we can see that our Mando is number 8 in the Book of Boba Fett line. And I just wanted to share with you guys this shot, how the side art mural looks like when all of these boxes are combined. The only one here that I'm missing is number 3 between Boba and Chrysanthemum, and if I'm not mistaken that is the Luke and Grogu training 2-pack, which I didn't get, but still, when you see it like this, I think that this looks really good. And so going back to this guy, it's a standard Black Series box. So now let's open it up and let's take a look at the figure. So here is our Glavis Ringworld Mandalorian out of the box, and my first impressions, I have to say, this is such a great figure. The sculpt is beautiful, the proportions finally look accurate. It took Hasbro only like 300 tries to finally give us an accurate and proportionate and good looking Mando in the Black Series line. Because, and this is just my opinion, those previous Black Series releases were just not as good as they could have been. And for all these years, someone like me had to turn to SH Figure Arts or Mafex for a better looking and more accurate 6-inch Mando. And as I said, after all those previous Black Series releases, we are finally at the point where we can say that we have a great representation of this character in this line. Now we are going to compare this guy to some of those previous releases, and we'll do that in a bit, but looking this guy like this, I mean, look how natural this looks. It really looks like a dude in a suit and armor. If I'm not mistaken, they used that Death Watch Mandalorian body for this figure, and that was a great decision. And for me, other than proportions looking right, there are two main things that immediately made me happy when I saw this figure. And those two things are accurate helmet design and soft goods cape. Finally, which is especially important because this guy comes with a jetpack. But again, we're going to compare this new Mandalorian to some of the previous releases, but first let's take a closer look at this figure. As I already said, the helmet looks beautiful, it's accurate to the show, the shine of Beskar armor. They really did a great job with doing that effect. It is shiny, it's reflective, the visor looks really good, the sculpt looks crisp and sharp. Here we can see the back of the helmet. He has his Mughorn insignia, and then the cape is tucked underneath the chest armor, which is great. It bunches up underneath the neck, which is accurate to how it looks in the show. And here is how the cape looks. You can see that they scuffed it up down at the bottom so that it looks torn and damaged, and I really like that. It's a nice material as well. It's soft, pliable, and it gets out of the way, so that's good. And underneath we can see Mando's back, and all of the ports, the peg holes, are still here. So we have this middle one and these two for his jetpack, and then this one is still here, probably for his rifle. And also, if you have one of the previous releases that came with his Beskar spear and that small piece that connects to the back for holding the spear on the back, you can probably port that in as well. I don't have that release, so I can't say for sure, but I assume that it's compatible. The belt that goes around his body and is connected down here at the waist is sculpted as one piece, but it's a new sculpt because if you guys remember, the old belt had a hole up here that you had to align with this hole on his back to port in his rifle. So now we don't have that anymore. And down here on the belt you can see that there is a hook for the Darksaber hilt. There is some damage on the armor, and then his grenades, a pouch, and a buckle that is not painted, but these details here are painted silver, so that is good. The holster is connected to this blue side piece, and also you can probably remember that previous releases had a holster with that small plastic piece that goes over the top of the gun when it's holstered and then pegs in here, and as you can see they removed that part, so this is a different holster now, a different sculpt, so that's good, especially if you were annoyed by that thing, because for the most part it just wouldn't stay when you peg it in. It would always pop out of that peg hole, so it was kind of annoying. I prefer this design. His arms look good. Elbows and knees are pinless now. We have his gauntlets that are nicely sculpted. Here are the whistling birds. And then we have right hand that is trigger finger hand and the left hand that is grabbing hand. The belt is connected to this gray part underneath, and that part is separated from the upper part of the torso where Beskar is, so we get some layers here. The legs also look good. We have a full Beskar armor here, and of course sculpted wrinkles on the undersuit. His knee pad that is smooth, but these details, I'm not sure if they were supposed to be silver, but they are not painted. We have a pouch here, and then these pieces that are painted. And we can take a look at the back of his legs. So even more wrinkles are sculpted here. That looks great. And then the boots, the feet, everything looks really good on this guy, and I can't express enough how satisfied I am with how this guy looks. Now let's take a look at his accessories. First, he comes with his vibro knife. It's a small accessory, but the sculpt is good. The handle is brown and the blade is silver. For such a small accessory, this really looks good. He comes with his iconic pistol blaster that is also nicely sculpted, and you can see even on this wooden handle that they actually sculpted some of those lines, and it's like that on both sides, so that's a nice attention to detail. This side of the gun is flat, but the other side has some more technical details sculpted on it. Here is a comparison of the new gun with the one that came with previous Beskar Mandalorian. The new one is much more darker, the paint is different. The sculpt of the handle is different, because the old one is smooth, there are no sculpted lines on it. I even have a feeling that the trigger hole for his trigger finger is a bit larger on the new one. That's how it looks like to me. Manda also comes with the Darksaber, and the sculpt looks nice, it looks clean. The blade looks good, but it would probably look even better if there were those small white lines going across this black part in the middle. That's something that you can always customize and add yourself. It would look even better if those details were there. The hilt looks good, it's nicely sculpted, there is no paint on it, but we have a loop here so that you can hang the hilt on his belt. And here is a comparison of the two Darksabers that we have in the Black Series line. This one came with Moff Gideon, and Hasbro could have easily reused this sculpt and give it to this new figure, but they didn't. They resculpted it, and this new hilt is a bit larger, and as mentioned, it has that ring on the top, and also the blades look different. This one has a nice white edge, while Moff Gideon one is much more gray and kind of translucent, but overall I feel like the new one looks much better. So I'm glad that they decided to resculpt this. And then Manda also comes with his jetpack, and I have to say that I love what Hasbro did with this one. The sculpt looks beautiful, and same as his armor, they gave it that nice metallic looking sheen, and so the surface is reflective. The sculpt looks beautiful and sharp, and here we see the pegs. These ports are beautifully sculpted, and it's such a shame that this guy didn't come with jet blast effects. I mean, you can always use some of those effects that came with figures like Return of the Jedi Boba Fett or Dark Troopers, but as I always say, every character that comes with a jetpack should have those blast effects included in the set. And for the comparison, this is the jetpack that came with that older Beskar Mando, and you would think that this new one is simply a repaint of this one, but I have to tell you that it's actually not. And it's not obvious when you see it like this, but when you take a closer look at the details, you will see not only that this sculpt is sharper, but that some of the details are actually a bit different on this new one. So, for example, this antenna piece here, yes, the older one has something that looks like it as well, but when you take a closer look, you can see that this is actually not an antenna or whatever it is, but it's not on the same place, and the sculpt is different. This is like a flat piece that is connected to the back, and this is a separate thing that is moved to the other side of the jetpack. On the other side as well, there is this smaller antenna piece, and this one doesn't have it. It has this small part here, but it's also connected to the back, so it's not the same thing. And then when you look at the top, this cap, this upper piece, is actually not the same. This one is wider than this one, and these lines, these ridges, are different sculpt. As I said, this one is sharper, and the lines are much more indented than on this one. This is almost flat. And then these grooves here, these lines, are longer than these ones. See? See the difference? When you compare it like this with a straight line, you can see that those lines are a bit shorter on the new jetpack. When you see the lower part, you can tell that the old jetpack is a bit bulkier than the new one. The pack holes for jet blasts are wider on the new one. And then the way that they connected the pieces, you can see that on the old one, the line where they connected the pieces is up here, while on the new one, the line goes down here. And then going into more details, the new jetpack has these small parts sculpted here, while the old one doesn't have that. And then also on the new one, there are some technical details sculpted on the inside of this square here, while the old one is blank, doesn't have anything sculpted here. And then the last obvious difference are these pegs. This central peg is longer than the older one, and these two have different shape than the older one. And also on the new one, there is no indentation that they sculpted on this one, as you can see here. This one doesn't have that. So those are the differences that I spotted. I feel like they could have just reused this, but they decided to resculpt it and make it better, in my opinion. So great job, Hasbro. Now let's try to see if our new Mando can use his accessories. And you can already tell that holding this small knife will be a problem for him because of the way that the grip on both of his hands is sculpted. And so this won't work. You can probably play with it a little bit and yeah, he can use it like this. He doesn't hold it securely, but it can be done, and it will probably fall out as soon as you move him, so that is kind of an issue, but you can always cheat, you can use something and secure it a bit better. There should be no problem for the gun, because the hand is sculpted in a way that is meant for him to hold it, and yes, this looks really good, so that's nice. Love it. And then the new Darksaber. The grip is not as secure, but it can be done. So this looks good as well. He can hold it with two hands, so that's nice. And then the gun can be holstered here. And then we can try the other hand for gripping the Darksaber. And it's still loose. You can always play with it and it will look fine. And then for his jetpack, we can also connect that. And here's the thing, with soft goods cape, you can move it out of the way. Who would have thought that that solution would be much better for this figure than that awful plastic cape that they were forcing on all of those previous releases. I mean, look at this. It looks so good. The cape goes out of the way and you have a beautifully looking Mando, with his jetpack and the cape combined on him. And then the blade of the Darksaber can be separated. And let's see how will this hang from his belt. It's not the most secure thing, but it does hang and it does look good. So there we go. And then I almost forgot, for his little vibro knife, there is also a storage point on the figure, which is great. Down here on the inside of his boot there is a small space in which you can insert the knife. So that is beautiful. And so, just like that, you have the new Black Series Mando with all of his accessories on him, and you don't even notice. Everything is holstered, the knife is here, the gun is in his holster, Darksaber hilt is down here, and his jetpack is on his back. And so, as I said, we finally got this, after like 300 tries, you know, but it's finally here, and I'm loving it. And then, just for the kicks, I wanted to show you guys that even though this new Mando doesn't come with his rifle, which is, you know, logical because he doesn't have it by the time of the Book of Boba Fett, but if you have this rifle in your collection, I just wanted to show you that you can still port it on his back, because that upper pack hole is still here. You just insert it like this, and now you have your new Mando with his rifle on his back. I love this. This is amazing. Let's now take a look at his articulation. The head is on a ball joint and it gives you such a great range of movement. My god, look at this. This feels like a Mafex or SHF figure. He can look up this much, down this much. He can tilt side to side, rotate 360. These shoulder pieces are on a separate ring on the inside of the butterfly joint, and so they get out of the way and the arms can move out all the way. We have a nice butterfly joint, and this piece is an overlay and it's kind of softer plastic, so it will bend when you try to get his arms across the chest. The arms can rotate 360 and these pieces go out of the way. We have a single bend in the elbow that gives us this much, and the elbow swivels. There is a swivel in the wrist, and the right hand has the up and down hinge, while the left hand has the in and out hinge. And I almost missed it, but his gauntlets do swivel as well. That's beautiful. For the torso, there is only one cut, and that is up here behind this chest piece. And so that will give us rotation and a little bit of side to side tilt. Crunching forward is not that great, neither is crunching back, but it is slightly better. Legs move out this much, forward this much, back only this much. This figure still has a tie cut, and it's hidden behind the Beskar armor, so that's a nice design choice, nice implementation of the joint. Pinless knees have a single bend that gives us this much, and the knees also swivel. Feet move forward this much, back this much. We have a nice ankle pivot and peg holes at the bottom of his feet. But now let's compare this new Mando to some other figures. Here he is with some of the previously released Black Series Mandalorian figures. And now when we have these guys like this, side by side, when we can compare them, you can see how far we have gone from this design to this one. This is pre-Beskar Mando from the first episode of the first season. He looks like this when we first see him. And this is one of the Beskar Mando releases before we finally got this one. Look at the helmets and tell me, do you think that these two look like the helmet from the show? I don't know on what Hasbro based the design for this helmet, but it's just inaccurate. This was the best that Hasbro could do all these years. And I also have to say that this cape is obviously not the original one. This is my custom-made cape. This guy here has the plastic one that comes with the figure, and this one came with practically the same one. This is a nice sculpt, but it's plastic, so it's rigid. It won't get out of the way. And while this first one didn't have a jetpack, there are no peg holes on his back, this one did come with a jetpack, and you couldn't use the jetpack and his plastic cape at the same time. That was a really bad design choice, and I'm not sure why they went with that, but it was something that was frustrating for years. And so now, all these years later, they finally decided to give us a soft goods cape like this that looks looks beautiful. It looks better than what I have done here. Yeah, we don't get all of these wrinkles that are sculpted on a plastic cape, but I really don't care about that, because for the most part you won't be looking at it from the back, you know. You want to utilize his accessories, and you can't do that with a plastic cape like this. So while we are losing those sculpted details on this cape, I still prefer this. It is posable, it gets out of the way, and it's not frustrating. So yeah, it's a shame that we had to go through all this, and Hasbro really made money out of this body mold, because they gave us all kind of different versions from different episodes, and they were all on this body. And the body itself, it's not that bad, and when you compare it like this guy looks like a Mafex or an SH Figure Arts compared to these guys. It looks like this one wasn't made by the same company that made these two guys. Am I wrong? Feel free to share your thoughts down in the comments. Here is our Mando with the Black Series, the Book of Boba Fett, Throne Room Boba Fett, and the Black Series, Book of Boba Fett, Fennec Shan. Here he is with the Black Series Chrysanthemum and the Black Series Pike Soldier. Here he is with the Black Series Cobb Vent and the Black Series Book of Boba Fett, Cad Bane, and this is a single release. And then to compare him with some imports, here he is with the SH Figure Arts Beskar Mandalorian, and this is not the latest version, this is the previous one that comes with unhelmeted Din Djarin head, and the SH Figure Arts Deluxe Book of Boba Fett that comes with his throne. And I said it many times before, and I'll say it again, if you don't have this figure, go grab it right now, because this is such a phenomenal release. And at the time of recording this video, Ami still has it in store and it's on sale. But as you can see, he scales well even with the SH Figure Arts, who are known to be just slightly smaller. And then to compare him with few Mafex figures, here he is with Mafex the Mandalorian, and this is also not the latest one. The latest one is still yet to come out at the time of recording this video, of course, and as I said, I have that one on pre-order as well, so stay tuned for that video. And then on the other side, here we have him with the Mafex IG-11, and the scale is great. And now, just for fun, we can compare these three Mandos from three different companies. And again, here on the left we have the Mafex Mandalorian, and to the right we have the SH Figure Arts one. This is a phenomenal figure, and I can't wait to see what will Mafex do on that new one that is scheduled to be released this month in February of 2024. But compared like this, you can see that Mafex and Black Series are almost the same height, while the SHF one is a bit shorter, and the size of the helmet here always bothered me. When you compare it like this, look how small that helmet looks in comparison to the rest of the body. It just doesn't look proportionate. And all this time I was in love with this figure, especially because of the helmet, but now compared to the new Black Series one, I feel like Hasbro did the best job on the helmet, even better than the Mafex. Now we'll have to wait and see how will the new Mafex one look like, but still, even on this older one, I feel like they also did a great job, even though I like this one a bit better. But this is still a beautiful figure. It has a great articulation, it comes with a lot of accessories, and I really love this release. But man, I have to be honest and say that in terms of proportions, Hasbro did an amazing job on this guy. The proportions look right, the articulation is really good, one of the best in the line. They fixed the issues that the previous release had, and I feel like they did everything they could to make their best version of the Mandalorian. So all in all, I have to say that I absolutely love this figure. A lot of people crowned this figure as the best Black Series figure ever made. I'm not sure about that, I can't go that far, but I can say certainly that this is one of the best Black Series figures ever made in this line. 100%, no doubt about it, a strong release. Hasbro killed it on this release. Amazing proportions, beautiful sculpt, shiny Beskar parts, updated articulation. They also resculpted the accessories, they fixed the issues that previous releases had, and I mean just overall, it all works on this figure. This guy, as you saw, holds up in comparison with some of those import figures like SH Figure Arts and Mafex. And that is a huge success for a figure that costs around 25 to 30 bucks or euros. So it's not every day that you can say that Hasbro Black Series figure can compete with some of these import figures, but in this case that is absolutely true. If you are a new collector, if you just started your Black Series collection and you want to have that one Mando figure, I would say this is the one. Get this one. Especially if you're on the budget, you don't want to pay extra for those imports like Mafex and SHF, this is the one to get. I can't wait to share with you guys a posing video for this guy. Stay tuned for that. That one will be on the channel soon. And now I'm extremely curious to hear your thoughts. What do you think about this new Black Series Mando? Is this something that you have in your collection or not? Do you plan on getting it? What do you think about all of those previous Black Series Mando releases in comparison to this one? What do you think about how this guy looks compared to Mafex and SHF? Let me know all of that down in the comments. Let's talk about it. Special thank you goes out to my Patreon supporters. Thank you guys so much for helping me to continue to make these videos. And of course to all of you guys out there, thank you all so much for watching my content, for being here with me, and I'll see ya in the next one.